Innovating Education Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.
The UN estimates that by year 2050, global demand for food will be 3 times greater than today. Many countries are working to sustain their agricultural resources and promote good farming practices. This week, we look at lessons on agriculture in Pakistan, Cuba, and China. The monsoon floods in Pakistan devastated the country's agricultural sector, which employs nearly half of the population. Now, as the country recovers from the crisis, many organizations are organizing lessons in modern agricultural methods for local communities. More now in this report.
Agriculture is at the heart of Pakistan's economy. Over 48% of the workforce is employed in this sector. In 2010 and again in 2011, Pakistan was hit by one of the most devastating floods in its history. 20 million people were affected. Almost 700,000 hectares of crops went underwater and a large part of the livestock was lost. But with the support of the European Commission, a network of NGOs from Alliance 2015 was already working in Pakistan at the time. They immediately sprang into action to respond to the emergency and raise awareness through education. First on the starting block, hygiene. The courses target women in rural areas with the hope they'll pass on what they've learned to the rest of the family.
It's extremely important because obviously they're in the household with the children, and it's important that they understand because they tend to be the ones who educate and teach their children about these fundamentally important practices. We have trained people within these communities to train the women on 4 main components: the personal hygiene, the hygiene within their home, environmental hygiene, which also then looks at latrines, learning how to clean it, what they can use to clean it.
In an attempt to get children involved, some classes are taught in schools where pupils get the chance to pick up some free samples of soap to take home. Women also learn how to farm a family garden. As part of the course, they'll get to know what seeds to plant, how to sow and irrigate, whilst getting to grips with using fertilisers and pesticides.
We want to teach the women how to grow organic vegetables. So we don't want to make them depend on high fertilizer or pesticides input.
Run by women for women, some classes focus on getting families to eat healthier by getting the most out of their vegetables. This means they're thoroughly washed to reduce bacteria, and instead of cooking them over long periods, the women are introduced to the idea of lightly frying the vegetables so they retain their natural vitamins.
So together with the women we went to have so-called cooking classes, not because we think they can't cook, but to get an idea about nutritional value, because we found out during many assessments that there's a lack of nutrition in the communities.
75 million Pakistanis are directly dependent on agriculture, a sector that makes up 21% of its GDP. Improving overall quality in this area is critical.
The US economic embargo resulted in Cuba investing in internal resources like agriculture. And to promote farming techniques which address the country's needs, new curriculums aim to capitalize on a new breed of young land-owning farmers. In this report, we look at an agricultural college.
Since the fall of the Soviet bloc, state-backed farming has helped Cuba to survive the US embargo. Teaching is fundamental for agriculture to continue, and it's taught here at Valera Revolucion School in Bayeros, near Havana.
Throughout the whole of the country, an impressive number of farming polytechnic schools have been constructed, including this one, which was built in 1962.
The school houses 2,000 budding farmers who learn their trade over 900 hectares of land. Even though these Soviet-style schools may look a little dated, the content taught realistically reflects farming in Cuba. At this workshop, students even get to learn how to make their own medication.
We cultivate medicinal plants in our country to lower pharmaceutical imports because on the international market they are a bit expensive. I'm studying so I can qualify in agronomy, and I like it because it's an important job for the country, and for me it's an economic opportunity. I like the land. I like to work it.
Recently, the Ministry of Agriculture announced measures to support the creation of 2,600 urban farms and gardens, and around 3 million hectares of land will be distributed among the people.
Agriculture is organized into state farms, with state businesses dedicated to food production, but also from the private sector. That is, we have farmers who own their land and trading with their products, according to the systems that the country has put in place.
The future of the island is in the students' hands. Cuba continues to import 80% of what it consumes. Dismantling the state monopoly on the agricultural market is another step for a different day.
We go to China now to look at young people following their families' footsteps in the ancient art of cultivating green tea. These lessons aim to take children through the A to Z of tea-making process and raising awareness of the history and culture of this mouth-watering plant.
There's a popular saying, the national beverage of China is tea and the homeland of tea is Hangzhou. And West Lake Dragon Well tea, grown on the hills around the city, is Hangzhou's speciality. Jupu is one of the many places in the area to produce green and black tea. And it's where a group of youngsters will learn all the secrets of how to cultivate this ancient plant. The children walk around the plantation, picking up leaves and putting them in their baskets. The tea is made from new leaves, so the children, helped by their parents, pick up the top 2 leaves and bud from each plant. Now they know how to harvest tea, a tradition that goes back 2,000 years.
Our kids and their parents don't really know a lot about the history and culture of our tea. We're trying to promote the tea culture of Jupu. We hope that the young generation and their parents can get a better understanding of our local history and tea culture.
After the tea is harvested, they take the leaves to the factory to weigh them. Then they get the chance to see, smell and touch this relatively unknown plant, which plays such a big role in their daily lives.
They learn the whole process of tea making and listen to my explanation carefully. This activity is really beneficial for passing on tea culture, and I am very proud of them.
The tea-making process then continues at high temperatures, so all kinds of oxidizing enzymes are removed under the watchful eye of the tea master. The final product retains its bright green colouring, hence the name green tea.
Before coming to this tea plantation, I knew nothing about how to make, pack and sell tea. But today I learned a lot and came to understand where the tea comes from.
When the hard work's done, the students get to sit back, sip on the fruits of their labour and learn more about the history of tea. They hear stories about the origins of the drink, with some more entertaining tales from history thrown in for good measure. Like the one about the emperor who fell asleep under a wild tea tree with a cup of hot water. The rest, as they say, is history.
And now some feedback on our episode on women. One of our viewers in Syria believes that some women think education is a path to making a better marriage. But not all our viewers agree. Join us in this lively debate on Facebook. And don't forget to give us your thoughts on this week's program. Goodbye for now.
Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.